Hi, this is Shadi. Today I want to talk about Dai Aoki, and he is one of those forgotten judokas, I would say. He was very talented from the era of the 2010s. I believe his last competition was 5 years ago, so 2020 to be exact. He finished with a bronze medal. Now, he doesn't have the biggest medal cabinet, but yet he graced us with some of the best Katame-waza, I would say. Now, this video is not to say that ignore everything else and pull guard. I'm just saying how he actually made it work with the contacts like gripping and throwing as well. So before we do that, please don't forget to check out my book, The Origins and History of Judo, a translation of a manuscript from 1903, both in French and English. So, like I said, he didn't just do Newaza. He obviously gripped through people, but he had his way of taking them to the ground and immediately attacking from what it seems here an open guard. So it's a tomoe nage feint into a juji gatame. So you can see here it looks like a failed attack, but the leg slips instead of staying on the belt while the other follows to catch. I've done this in competition plenty of times. Here you can see a far more swift one without needing to roll him fully and get the tap. Now, we cannot say Aoki without, of course, talking about Shinya Aoki, who also was a master of this tactic. And here you can see, just thinking that they're going for a tomoe nage, they go down, and then he follows with the other leg. And of course, he was also skilled with the flying armbar as well, not just the tomoe feint. Now, here you can see full-on display of open guard, sitting down, and then from there the guy tries to pass, and then see the grip wasn't too deep, and so he went for a loop choke, gets the tap. You see, it's the jiu-jitsu sequence, so to speak, but with the speed and the rhythm of judo, and that's why it was just kept going by the referee. So if you don't know what loop choke is, it's like an okuri eri jime, but then you pass your forearm on the back of the neck through your arm, or threading your arm. And here you can see Chewy explain it. It's a great strangle. You can get it from guard, from anything. And here you can see it, of course, how he pulled and then capitalized on it while the other one tried to pass. So again, these are great display of Katame-waza immediately from the standing. Here you can see also capitalizing on his on the mistakes of his opponents. Now, this one here you can see is called the Hausinga roll, they call it, and he was pretty much very much talented with it. So here you can see it. This is from Superstar Judo. Link will be below if you are interested. And you can see it looks like an attack from a triangle, but then he only attacks the arm as if he's going for ashi gatame, but then he switches direction, grabs the opponent's thigh or the opponent's arm, and then here he swings one leg, taking them over for a pin or even an arm lock. We're gonna see that later. So in pin, technically it would be an ushiro kesa gatame, and here you can see the swinging, which allows him to go forward, rolling them and grabbing for the pin. It's very creative. Now I believe Klimkate is one of the best at it at the moment, but here you can see also there was the Mongol. So many people actually reproduce this. So here is another way to get them to the ground from a failed uki-waza. You can see here Kashiwazaki demonstrated. So I do believe this is what he was going for, like this, but of course it was static, and so there wasn't enough drive, so he just ended up collapsing his opponent, and that's all he actually needed to proceed, because that's where he wanted his opponents. Very similar to Shori Hamada, Olympic champion. So to say that his medal cabinet wasn't big because he only favored Katame-waza, that's not entirely true. I don't believe it. Of course, the talent pool, etc. at the time, there's many things playing factor, but to say it was only his Katame-waza, of course not. Here again, another example of the housing roll, but here let's watch actually how he finished this. It's not just with the pin. Watch how his hips lift almost and change the position of his legs, which caused an arm lock and a tap. So here we dive into the very deep and complex world of Ashi Gatame. So this is the most fundamental form of it. It's very efficient. Saito in the 80s got ippons with it many times. Here you can see you have one leg going up, and of course the extension of the hips on the elbow, locking it fully. And you have another variation where the second leg works and you can actually target more of the shoulder. Here you can see this becomes more of a shoulder lock, but the arm is somewhat extended. So you have these two variations, and you can also apply a strangle from it. Very brutal submission. And here, this is where we were, the Ushiro Kesa, and from it you can apply an arm lock, very similar to what Aoki did. So it's an Ashi Gatame from Ushiro Kesa Gatame. He tries to go for the arm lock here, but he gets a very strong defense, and so he switches, targets the other arm, which is a bit loose, and so he gets Sankaku Jime. Again, we go back to Mark with the Superstar Judo, and here he explains that when you cannot roll them to the side like you usually do, you flatten them. Sometimes they push against your leg because they want to prevent the triangle, and so you can use it because their arm is now extended. You can actually use the other leg to trap the triangle, as you can see, and you just flatten them on their stomach, apply a little pressure, and now you can strangle them. So here you can see the extended arm, the other one goes in, and then you tighten it and flatten them on their stomach. Here you can see the opening. I believe this is what happened with Aoki as well. And then you switch legs, you go back and lock. So very nice transitions by Aoki, and also the ability to take them to Katame-waza from the standing is a very important skill to have in judo. Of course, it needs gripping. You need to survive and really go on, try to dominate the gripping as well. Have very good throws. He, of course, was good in Nage-waza as well. Japanese favor Nage-waza before getting to black belt, and then later on you can be, a Ne-waza specialist, whatever it may be. So clearly he had a way of getting his opponents to Katame-waza in professional judo, which is very impressive. I'm not saying that only train Ne-waza or Katame-waza and you can do this in professional judo. That's not going to happen. Many people, they were very clearly trying to pull guard, and they would get 3 penalties and they go out. And I've seen it recently in a world championship, I think maybe 2022 or 2021, I forgot, but it clearly does happen. So you have to be very swift when going to the ground, not just sit down and expect things to happen. That's not how that works. You have to follow the judo rhythm. So if you have anything to add, let me know down below. Don't forget to check out my book below. This was Shadi, and thank you for listening.